Today we'll start with Atma Nirvriti, chapter 20. Swarubhavastiti, the natural state. So till now, you remember, we had started our journey outward. Yeah. In the earlier chapters, we did our journey inwards. And in the past few chapters, after the Sahaj Samadhi, we started our journey outwards. So as one begins this outward journey, we warned the mind. You remember that letter to the mind you wrote? Yeah, we warned that mind that its vagaries, its idiosyncrasies now do not stand a chance anymore. And as one begins this outward journey from the consciousness towards the objects of consciousness, it becomes absolutely clear that everything that follows from here is the same consciousness itself. Yeah, it's like you have never ever learned to swim. You used to always stand at the shore of the ocean, of the river, of any water body and just look at the waves and be afraid of the waves. And you've never learned to swim. Then you learn to swim. You get into the water. You stumble, fumble. So many times you get water into your nostrils and you come out gasping. And then slowly the skill develops. And once you really develop that skill of being underwater, you realize, oh, yeah, it's not tough. It's not difficult. Yeah, it was just a mental thing that waves are scary or water is scary. It was only an idea. So what happens with the skill of learning, this idea gets wiped off completely, as if it never existed, as if I never really had the fear of water. Have you realized this? Yeah, those who learn to swim must have seen this in their journey and laughed at themselves. I used to be so afraid of water. And then I learned to swim and it's nothing. Yeah, so now when you come out of that water towards the waves, you see the waves also as water. Yeah, so similarly, as one begins this outward journey from consciousness towards the objects of consciousness, it becomes absolutely clear that everything that follows from here on is the same consciousness itself. Means there cannot be anything else. And even the reappearance of the mind in the form of thought, the reappearance of intellect in the form of a smart thought, the reappearance of the memory in the form of a repetitive thought, and the reappearance of ego, which is nothing but an authoritative thought. All are simply thoughts. The reappearance of senses is nothing but a thought. I see, I hear, I taste, I touch, I smell. The reappearance of the perceptions of this world, my family, my friends, my social circle, my Advaita circle. Oh, all these perceptions of the world, simply thoughts. Everything is thought. And every thought dissolves into me, the nothingness. Every thought dissolves into me, the consciousness. Every thought is nothing but a puja or worship to me, the pure happiness. This has become very clear how Atmananda has started on the outward journey and is taking us outwards. Yeah, first a warning to the mind and then a real clarity about what is puja. He says puja is simply a search that I'm doing to find my own self. I'm playing hide and seek with my own self. I have obviously forgotten where I am hidden to be able to start seeking. Yeah, you pretend, no, when you play hide and seek with your friends, you close your eyes, the friends are hiding. And many times you pretend you know your friend is there, but you just play along. Okay? You play with kids, you just play along. You know the kid is hiding behind the sofa, but you want him to have some fun. Like that only, I am pretending. I'm pretending to seek myself. Only when I pretend authentically can I say I'm playing the game of hide and seek authentically, right? I forget myself in the process. In the process of going here and there, you forget that your friend is hiding behind the couch and he finds another place to hide. Now he's really gone. So, like that, in that pretense, I actually lost sight of myself. I forgot myself. I started searching for myself in these thoughts. I thought perception is real. I wanted it. I was seeking for it. I thought sensation is real. I was seeking for it. I thought this thought in the mind, this intelligence, it is real. I was seeking for it. I wanted my ego to seem as if, I am better than you. I am smarter than you. Oh, this whole game, it's all a pretense. Finally, one day, I step onto Advaita and I find myself. And I'm like, oh, I know my true self now. Once I know my own true self, now I cannot forget it. Now I cannot be fooled anymore by the game. So, what happens once you figure out in the middle of the game that this is my true self? Does the game end? No. The game goes on until its designated end. Yeah. But it has ended for me. Even though the game is over, I am still hanging around while the game continues. This is what I call the true interval in the story or in the life of an Ajatavadan. His life begins with all his ignorance, assuming that he was born, and then he grows up till the time he lives in that ignorance. That I consider as the story before the interval. Yeah? Then is this interval of life for an Ajatavadan where he recognizes, oh, the game is over. I cannot pretend anymore. There's no more self-foolery here. This interval can be very peaceful, very good for some people, and for some people it's troublesome. For some people it is like, I cannot enjoy the story anymore now. Yes. So like an interval in a cinema, like you go for a very long cinema movie, 3 hour, 4 hour movie, and there is an interval. Some people are very restless in that interval, that why is there an interval? Yes, while some people take that opportunity to eat something, to relax, rest. Some people are just waiting. Okay, when is it going to start? When is it going to start? Do you see that? So it's different for different people, even in a cinema. Exactly the same thing happens on this journey. You recognize in that interval, you have reached it, each one of you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. In that interval, am I able to accept that the self foolery has ended or not yet? Now, the story after the interval has begun. For some people, it begins easily. For some people, you have to really push hard. So, in the story after the interval, ask yourself, am I clearly established in the recognition of my true nature? Or do I get lost in the story, in the game again? The game continues, the story continues, but now it is more like a test for me. I keep evaluating myself. I keep testing myself moment to moment whether I still get fooled or I know it. Yeah. Do I start playing again or am I simply a witness now? Yeah, so that's homework number one, even before we begin this chapter. You ask yourself this question about the interval that you have actually crossed now. The interval is over and you have started your journey up. You've started your journey out now, and this is the right time to assess yourself. Long back, when I reached the interval in the story of Ekta the person died, and a poem emerged. The I has completed its journey. The I has dissolved. The search has culminated. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to meet. Don't knock the door. Nobody's home. Nobody's home. So, homework for you. Has the I dissolved yet? That's the next homework. Has the I dissolved yet? Has your search culminated yet? Is somebody home still? Time to contemplate. So we'll begin chapter 20 here. Look at verse 1. So when you ask yourself this question, do I still get lost in this game of self-foolery? Do I still get lost in this game and forget my true self? When you're asking yourself this question, it is very easy to see what Atmananda is now teaching us. He's saying variety is in the objects of consciousness. I get lost in the game. That game is an object. The people in this game are objects. The situations in this game are objects. The things, beautiful gadgets, wonderful things to own, they are all objects of consciousness. And there's variety of them. A zillion gadgets, a zillion things attracting me, a zillion kind of people out there, a zillion kind of situations out there. So the variety is in the objects of consciousness. The perceiving consciousness is one and the same throughout. That sense of I am, its background screen, that is one and the same throughout. But because consciousness is commonly seen connected with the objects, the change is attributed to consciousness. And that is nothing but delusion. So let's take the example of our diving into the pool or becoming an expert swimmer. Let's say you started swimming very well and now you became an expert. You became a scuba diver, a deep sea diver. Yeah. So just like the first time a scuba diver or a deep sea diver dives into the ocean, he recognizes that there is only water. The so-called waves that look super scary are nothing but water. Yeah. The calm, quiet, blue bed is nothing but water. Yeah. However deep he dives into the ocean, it is nothing but water. So now when he emerges back to the surface, he's not afraid of the waves. However rogue they may be, however tsunami-like waves they may be, he's not afraid of them anymore. Yeah. Similarly, when an Ajatavadan who has truly recognized the absoluteness and totality of consciousness as his own true nature, he sees everything as consciousness. So even though that tsunami wave appears to be different from the calm water in the bed of the ocean, the Ajatavadan is not fooled by the changing monster-like appearance of the tsunami. He knows that this is also H2O and that is also H2O. H2O cannot change, period. The wave changes its form. Yes, sometimes that wave is a tsunami-like wave and sometimes it's just bubbles on the surface of water. Am I able to see that in my relationships now? This angry family member, right now he's appearing like tsunami. It's the same family member who is very soft and like a bubble-like, foam-like in other situations. H2O cannot change. That consciousness in which this family member is like the tsunami or the bubble, that consciousness is what I am. That does not change. Yes, this is clear. Yeah. A Dvaitin, a dual path walker, he may see tsunami to be different from the ocean bed's calm water. He may say the water changes its form, which means the consciousness has changed. A Dvaitin might say that the consciousness changes. The consciousness of a spiritual guru is different from the consciousness of a sinner. So the sinner must pray, must bow down and seek blessings of this higher consciousness of the Guru. The Dvaitin means the dual path walker. The Dvaitin, he attributes consciousness to that sinner and to the Guru. So he's attributing consciousness to objects. He assumes that the change in the object is the change in consciousness. Are you seeing the difference? An Ajatavadan sees both as same. The spiritual guru and the sinner, the saint and the sinner, both are my projections. Both are my projections. Neither consciousness that is projecting them. I am changeless. And Ajatavadan clearly knows that the variety is in the object of consciousness. The perceiving consciousness is one and the same throughout. Very, very clear? Am I there yet? When you test yourself, am I there yet? This is very easy to say for somebody very far away from me, huh? Somebody in my family. Yeah, the tsunami person in my family. Can I say this for him or her? That is your next homework. Yeah, your test. Yeah, so see that you write down all these points that yes, I have been able to really see this in this tsunami person in my life. I might attribute a quality to an object, but I'm very clear that consciousness is the same throughout. But Dvaitin, what mistake did he make? Or when I get fooled by the mind, what mistake do I make? I see, consciousness is connected to the object. So that means the object changed his consciousness. Sinner's consciousness is very bad. This saint's consciousness is great. No. Then I am deluded. I have attributed the qualities of the object to consciousness. and I'm not able to see that consciousness is one and the same throughout. Very clear how you will test yourself in those most difficult times? So please examine yourself in different events. Number one, when there is a sorrowful event, whenever something difficult happens. Second, when there is a pleasurable event. Yeah. Are you able to call the soft bubbles of pleasure and the tsunami waves of pain one and the same? Are you able to recognize that I am the consciousness in which both the tsunami wave appears and disappears, and I am the consciousness in which the soft foam bubbles of pleasure appear and disappear? Yes. So what this does eventually for an Ajatavadan is that he sees zero variety there. The variety is there. He's not blind. But he sees it as the same. Yeah? So that's what Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Are you able to see Sukha and Dukkha as one and the same? Yes, do you remember that? Are you able to see zero variety yet? This is your next question. Not see with the eyes. Of course, I see blue, green, red, yellow. I see all colors. Yes, but there is a clarity that it is nothing but white light. I see the blue sky, but I know it's not blue. Do you see that? It's not about seeing from here. It's seeing from the eyes of wisdom. It is all consciousness. So, am I there yet to be able to see zero variety? Am I there yet where I see zero change or changelessness? That's your main homework. More than homework, a self-test, a self-evaluation suggested by Atmananda in verse 1. Let's look at verse 2 now. On the same lines, the self-inquiry will continue. You ask yourself the question, if I still assume that the consciousness of the sinner will change by worshipping the consciousness of a saint, am I going back to my old Dvaitam beliefs? Am I going back to my old views of duality? Am I really able to see what Atmananda is saying in this verse? That objects can never cause any change in consciousness. A sinner and a saint, both are objects. The object can change. But if consciousness changed, how could it perceive the variety of objects? Do you see what I'm saying? This is a phone. This is a phone. These are the eyes looking at the phone. It's the same eye that is constant. This is the phone moves away. This is a glass. It's the same eyes looking at the glass. How do I know that there is a difference between the phone and the glass? How can I distinguish between the two? How can I perceive this variety? Because the eyes are the same. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. I perceive variety because the eyes are the same. So now we are not talking about these eyes. This was just an example. But the perceiving consciousness is the same. That is why it can perceive the variety. Yes. Yet it gets lost. It forgets itself. It loses itself in the variety. That is a belief. Yes. The moment you come to a Jatvada, you wake up. You drop your beliefs. In fact, they shed away. You don't even have to drop them. They automatically dropped away. Just like when you grew up, you did not play with your dolls anymore. You didn't play with your teddy bear anymore. You didn't play with your toy car anymore. Not that you hate them, not that you picked them up, made a conscious decision, I dropped them. No, you didn't do anything like that. Just suddenly one day you realized, oh, it's been a month, I've not played with that doll. I just grew up. Like that. You just grew up. Yeah? You do not attribute individual consciousness to objects. You recognize the oneness of it all. Very clear? Yeah. And in that oneness, there is the perceiving consciousness and the perceived consciousness. If you still can't see the oneness, it is the same consciousness. Just like it is the same calm waters at the bed of the ocean and a tsunami wave. Well, same thing. Both H2O. Yeah, no difference. Similarly, there is the perceiving consciousness and the perceived consciousness. This is a middle step. If you want to see it that way, it's a middle step. Okay, I'm still not there yet, but at least I am clear that it is all one. Yes. That's how you bring yourself back from self-foolery. Every time you slip into the idiosyncrasies of the mind, you bring yourself back. The middle step will be recognizing, okay, I got lost in this tsunami wave, but it is the perceived consciousness. This is the perceiving consciousness. This is one and the same. Am I able to recognize that between the perceiver and the perceived? That which perceives must be constant and unchanging. Yeah? So this is the second thing. This is constant and unchanging. Am I able to distinguish that only the perceived is changing? Only the perceptions are changing. The perceiver is constant. And when I recognize that amidst a big drama going on, yeah, then slowly you will notice you will withdraw even from that duality of perceiver and perceived. You will see them as one. And that's how you will pull yourself out of that little slip that you had. Yeah? But these are questions that must happen during that event. No point as an afterthought. During the event, when I slip into the idiosyncrasies of the mind, then this is the master key to return. He's giving us a middle step. Because now I already know it's all consciousness. So middle step, I label it as perceived consciousness, perceiving consciousness. First step. Second, perceiving consciousness is constant. Yeah? And let me take the step beyond the duality of perceived and perceiving and recognize the oneness of it all. Then you'll easily withdraw from the drama. The drama will shed like the toys shed away. Yeah. The other way to see it is the field of vision for the perceiver and the perceived is the same. Right now, big drama going on. I can see this person doing drama, saying something, and I, the perceiver, I can recognize this. The field of vision is the same. Can I recognize that The field of me, the consciousness is the same. In me, the field of consciousness, this perceiver and perceived have appeared right now. Last night in deep sleep, these two were not there. Yeah, yet the changeless field of me, the consciousness, was there. So this recognition in the middle of that drama, when I have slipped away, just looking at the field of my vision and using it as a stepping stone to move to the changeless field of me, the consciousness. That will pull you out of the drama. Yeah? Or the drama will automatically shed away. Yes. So this is the next key. The saint as well as the sinner appear in me, the field of consciousness, and disappear in me, the field of consciousness. The saint and sinner change, but can never cause change in me, the field of consciousness. Am I able to see this truth? Moment to moment to moment to moment. This is the next homework. No? Next way to evaluate yourself. We move to verse 3. So, what is Atmananda saying in this verse? He's saying this object, the saint and the sinner, these objects, they undergo the change called destruction. Means the saint will also die, the sinner will also die. But I, the field of consciousness in which they both appeared and got destroyed, I am changeless and indestructible. Consciousness alone is changeless. Can I see this? Yeah, it's the same consciousness, the same. Let's start with field of vision at that point because you're in the middle of drama and say, oh, see, in this field of vision right now, there is this drama between the perceiver and perceived. A few days ago, in the same field of vision, there was lots of love between the perceiver and perceived. Yeah. So, what has changed? These objects have changed in the field of my vision. Can I see that in the field of me, the consciousness, the objects which are the angry objects today have appeared and they'll disappear? Just like a few days ago, the lovey-dovey objects had appeared and disappeared. Yeah. A few days ago, there was this lovey-dovey objects. Now, the same objects are not so lovey-dovey. Am I able to see very clearly that the field of consciousness is changeless? So the next homework for me is to recognize, am I able to see it's the same field? Okay, now where am I taking you with this? Every night you have a dream. The dreams are different. The field of consciousness is the same in which a nightmare appeared and disappeared, and it's the same field of consciousness in which there was a very nice, happy dream that appeared and disappeared. Yes. we usually focus on the objects that appear and disappear. Now, in this outward journey, even though we are going outwards, our focus should be antarmukhi, inwards, on the field in which objects appear and disappear. So, have you attained that state naturally? Have you been able to recognize that this just appears and disappears, and is the focus on the field all the time? Are you there yet? Yeah. You sit down and make notes during the day when you feel that, oh, I my focus was not on the field, it suddenly went onto that particular object. Yeah? Today I lost focus because of this object. Today I lost focus because of that object. So you'll recognize which are the weak points, that little weak link in me where I lose myself. It could be anything. It could be a heated argument. It could be some intimate conversation or intimate feeling with a beloved. It could be some greed that comes up to make more money or to get something. It could be so many things. Yeah. So you figure out, okay, this is still my weak point. Yeah. So what that does is now next time I have to be even more vigilant when this happens. Yeah. And keep my attention on the field of consciousness rather than on that object in consciousness that is again making me get into the game. Do you see that? So like in cricket, you forget that you're not playing and you're sitting on the stands and then you hit the mat. Oh, and you hurt somebody. Okay, I'm not playing. Yeah, I'm not playing. So that moment of self foolery. You see what I'm telling you? It'll just be a little 1-2 seconds of getting self fooled. Yeah, but you recognize, am I fooling myself? Am I fooling myself? Yes. So, few more questions you can add to that long list of homework is like, am I able to see that this object of pleasure will get destroyed and the object of pain will also get destroyed? But I remain, just like my nightmare got destroyed and my lovey dovey dream also got destroyed. But I still remain, no? If you regard yourself as the body mind, then you're regarding yourself as the object. Huh? Remember that. Ask yourself, am I able to see that I am the field in which this object called the body mind has appeared and is going to get destroyed? And it appears every waking state, beginning of the waking state, and gets destroyed at the end of the waking state. Birth and death is experienced here and now. Yes, again, next morning there is rebirth. So, rebirth, reincarnation in reality does not exist. Have you realized that by now? It does not exist the way I used to think that at the end of whatever 80, 90, 100 years, this body is going to die, and then that individual consciousness is going to take birth again. There is nothing like that that is going to happen. Yes, are you over that story? It's a wonderful story. It's a very nice way to bring absolute ignorant people on the path to at least start their search, because karma, reincarnation, rebirth, very like attractive topics for them. Yes, and they want, oh, I will have a better life. I will have a better wife next time. Yeah, I'll have something better next life. So I want to know, that's how they come onto the path. So karma, reincarnation, rebirth, perfect topics to help ignorant people begin their spiritual journey. From being bahirmukhi, at least they start inquiring about themselves. Yeah. Then slowly, they graduate, and from the Dvaitam belief, they come to the Ajatvada or the Advaitin truth. That's where you say, oh, all that was story. Discard it. The true meaning of being born and dying is this: it happens every day. Beginning of waking state, there is birth. End of the waking state, there is death. This body mind person that I label as Ekta actually is not the same Ekta. The number of days that I can count in linear time that this body mind has lived, actually that many births and deaths have happened. That's the meaning of rebirth or reincarnation. Yeah, so discard this old idea. It was a very nice way to come onto the path, but it was like a children's story. Yeah, like how you teach some moral science class through a story to the kids. And then you have to discard the story. It's the moral science lesson that is important to remember. The story is not important. The story is just a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. So now next homework for you. Am I able to discard this rebirth, reincarnation story yet? And if I'm still holding on to this story, what does it mean? I am still holding on to that belief that I am this object called this body mind personality. I believe myself to be this body mind. Very clear? Yeah? When you start going deeper into this inquiry, this week has lots of inquiry questions. Am I able to see that I am the field in which this waking state is created and destroyed? Am I able to see that I am the field in which the dream state is created and destroyed? And am I able to see that I am the field in which the deep sleep darkness appears and disappears? It is also destroyed. Am I able to see that I am the field in which the waking state person called Ekta or called Pamir, called Shalini, called Shailaja, called Bhavani, that is born and it dies at the end of the waking state? Do I recognize that I witness this birth and death on a daily basis? Do I recognize that I, the field of consciousness, I am never created, I am never destroyed? Yes? You can see now, he's taking us very high towards the recognition that I do not die. So you have to evaluate yourself. Am I there yet? Do I recognize that I do not die? Saint Kabir's poem, where he says, Na tu mare na buddha hoye. Neither do you age nor do you die.